In the last several years, there's been an explosion in the development of AI, more particularly generative AI. So many things that before we saw as exclusively human tasks can now be accomplished by AI. And a big part of this, or this sparks the question, what is AI's role in art? Art is something that we see as a uniquely human thing. So can AI create art? Artificial intelligence, is it capable of creating art? Now going into this, initially my first answer was that AI art is not art, or that AI art cannot be defined as art, or that AI can't create art. But as the process continued, I realized you can't really definitively say that AI art isn't art. A big part of art is that art is subjective. It's up to interpretation. One person can look at something and say, well, I call this art, and another person can look at the same thing and say, well, I don't think that's art. And that's okay. That's a big part of what art is. Art can be given meaning by the viewer or by the creator. It's up to interpretation. So you can't definitively say that works created by AI are not art. However, because art is up to interpretation, because the viewer has a big say in art, I contend that both creators of art and viewers of art should not accept it as art, that it should not be called art. So I contend that AI-generated images should not be accepted as art. And I believe this for two primary reasons. The first reason is that art should come from creativity and AI is not creative. And the second reason is that art should be a product of human expression, and works produced by artificial intelligence are not products of human expression. So firstly, the reason that AI-generated images should not be accepted as art is that art should come from creativity and AI is not creative. First, what is creativity? An article by Cheyenne Wu and others says, quote, creativity is understood as the generation of novel and valuable ideas or artifacts that are initiated by intrinsic motivation, end quote. And this article recognizes two important aspects of creativity. The first being intentionality, that art is created with conscious intention. And the second being authenticity. Quote, authenticity indicates that creative expressions originate from an individual's genuine experiences, emotions, and thoughts capable of eliciting empathy and providing true value to others, end quote. And I contend that both of these aspects of creativity, that AI does not fit into these areas, that AI is not creative. First off, intentionality. The way these models work is through prediction. Most of the time, it's predicting what does a user most likely want to see. It's predicting the most likely output based on its set of data and the inputs that it was given. This is not intentionality. Now, people like to argue that AI, or that art created by AI can evoke emotion and it can move people, and that is true. However, it still wasn't created with intention, which is the next part of creativity, and this leads into the next part of creativity, authenticity. Authenticity, which is art generated by AI does not have authenticity, because art should be there's AI does not have emotions, and it did not have experiences. These things that humans have, these emotions, these experiences, and then they create in order to express these emotions and these experiences. These are things that AI does not hold. Whether it can create something that moves someone or not doesn't really matter, because it wasn't created with genuine emotion or genuine intention. These are exclusively human things. In fact, even because it can evoke emotion, I believe that people should reject AI art all the more, because the fact that art is uniquely human ought to be what makes art beautiful. So when we give that to AI, then what does that mean? It's no longer uniquely human. We're saying that AI is capable of these emotions, of this genuine expression, of this intention, and I disagree with that. And so this idea of uniquely human leads to my second proof, that works produced by that art should come from human expression, and art produced by AI is not a product of human expression. Art is a uniquely human thing. Only humans can be creative because only humans have this intrinsic motivation to create for the sake of creating, or this idea of expressing themselves, their past life, their emotions, in order to speak to other people, more things that AI cannot do. Now, one of the most common arguments, refutations to this point, is that art can be used as a tool. Think about this. A sculptor is the artist. We call the sculptor the artist. We would not call the chisel that they use the artist. Or a painter, if a painter's painting something, we would not call that paintbrush the artist. No, the painter is still the artist. So the argument here is, why does this change with AI? Why can't AI just be the tool that a person uses in order to express their art? Is that not still human expression and creativity? It's still coming from a human. Well, that's a great point you're making. However, the issue here lies in autonomy. In these examples, the human still maintains the autonomy, and the actual process of creation, which is a big part of art, is not independent from the human. However, when we use AI to create art, the actual process of creating of art is independent from the human. The human loses autonomy in how these things are created. In fact, this entire process of fixing imperfections or leaving imperfections in or taking the time out to change little details, all of these things are a part of what makes art and what makes art so human. So having such a perfect image come from AI takes away from the meaning of that art because the actual process, the actual human process is removed. So art is different as a tool because it operates independently from the human, and therefore now the human is not the creator of the art, the AI is. And again, AI should not be called a creator of art because what makes art so beautiful is that it is an exclusively human thing. So ultimately, AI, although we can't say that AI art is definitively not art, it should not be accepted as art because art should come from creativity and AI is not creative, and because art should be a product of human expression and works created by AI are not human expression. We need to be aware of where we're using AI, because if we start to use AI to replace people in these uniquely human areas, then when does it go too far? What happens when people start to use AI as a replacement for gifts that God gives these people? Eventually it goes too far, and AI is not just a tool, but it's a replacement for us and a replacement for God's design and the gifts that he gives to people. Ultimately, accepting AI-generated images as art discredits any differentiation between God's creation and human creation, because AI is solely a man-made creation, while we are God's creation with the inherent ability to create art. This technology will only develop further, but we humans maintain creativity and independent expression. We humans are made in the image of God, and AI is not, so humans ought to be the ones to create art and ought to be the only ones to create what we call art. And art is inherently tied to the essence of a human being. Only human beings have souls, and only humans create art. Art very well may be one of the last things that AI will never replace, because AI will never have a soul.